This video is sponsored by Aura. Mass murders, in particular mass shootings, are nothing new to the American landscape. All of these episodes have commonalities, but there are also some major differences, such as political, racial, and strictly personal motivations. Most mass shooters leave behind a written trail for their motives, such as letters or a manifesto. A few mass shooters have accomplices who shared their twisted viewpoints, but most are solo operators.
Let's examine one of the earliest mass shootings.
Who was Mark Essex? What were his personal experiences turning him into a racial-hating person? What did he actually do? Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, former history professor, Army and Marine Corps veteran, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History. Mark James Robert Essex was born on August 12, 1949 in Emporia, Kansas, the second of 5 children to Mark Henry and Nellie Essex. They were a religious family, and his father worked as a foreman in a meatpacking plant, while his mother was a preschool children's counselor for disadvantaged families. As a boy, Essex liked the Cub Scouts and played saxophone in his high school band. He was also enjoying hunting and fishing, and during his teens, he considered becoming a minister. Essex was popular in high school, and his only encounter with the police was in 1965. While driving, he was pulled over when an officer mistakenly assumed he was too young to drive because Essex was only 5 feet 4 inches tall. An interesting fact was that, despite his later racial opinions, he dated both black and white girls, once telling his mother that he did not see much difference between girls of different races. He was an average student, but did well enough in technical subjects and graduated from Emporia High School in 1967. He attended Emporia State University, but for only 1 semester, and then worked at the same meatpacking plant where his father worked. He considered joining the Army, but then decided upon the Navy to get technical training for a later civilian career. Essex enlisted in the Navy on January 13, 1969 on a 4-year contract and was stationed at Naval Air Station, Imperial Beach, California. According to his family, his experiences in the Navy were positive. He completed his training at the Naval Training Center with high reviews and enrolled in the Navy Dental Center. Essex became a dental technician in April 1969, specializing in endodontics and periodontics, and formed a close relationship with his white supervisor, Lieutenant Robert Hatcher. Essex began experiencing racism in various forms while in the Navy, and it began forming his ideology. He also saw the differences while working as a bartender at an enlisted men's club called the Jolly Rotor, where certain rooms were off limits to blacks. In a letter to his mother, Essex described his disappointment, noting that racial relations in the Navy were not like he thought they would be, not like Emporia. Blacks have trouble getting along here. Today's video is sponsored by Aura, and it's a really important time to be talking about Aura because hackers may have stolen the Social Security numbers of every American. Over 2.9 billion records were stolen from National Public Data, which offers personal information to employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, and others doing background checks. These stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, Social Security number, and phone number, along with alternate names and birth dates. And members of the hacker group have reportedly released this information for free online. If you weren't taking precautions with your personal information online before, this should be a huge wake-up call. You've never been more vulnerable online than you are right now. I know firsthand how frustrating and time-consuming it can be when your personal information is compromised. A while back, someone used my credit card to make thousands of dollars worth of fraudulent purchases. I had to spend hours on the phone with my bank, cancel my credit card, order a new one, and deal with extra monitoring for months. It was a nightmare. That's why I'm not taking any chances. Now I use Aura. Aura alerts me if they find my phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. They're going to let me know fast if anyone tries to use this information to access my credit or bank accounts. They also give me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst-case scenario happen. They also provide a bunch of other features to keep you safe online, all inside one app. So go to my link at aura.com/forgottenhistory to try 14 days for free. That will be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed. I highly recommend you do this right now, because not only is national public data not going to do anything to help you, they probably aren't even going to face any repercussions for this leak. After my experience with credit card fraud, I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches. If you don't want to either, then go to aura.com/forgottenhistory and try Aura for free for 14 days. Essex believed that he would be better treated once he achieved a higher rank, but even afterward the harassment continued, leading him to start taking sedatives. He developed a friendship with a black sailor, Rodney Frank, who worked in the Aircraft Intermediate Maintenance Department. Frank was a self-described black militant who suggested that Essex read the literature by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, the co-founders of the Black Panther Party. By the summer of 1970, Essex had become radicalized. In August 1970, he was involved in a physical altercation with a white NCO, striking him after overhearing him say how beautiful it must have been in the past when a N-word went to sea it was below decks in the galley. Both men reached a compromise to avoid disciplinary action. The fact that he had struck a white sailor of senior rank intensified the harassment from other white personnel. On October 19, 1970, Essex went UA, or unauthorized absence, also known as AWOL. He called his mother from a bus station telling her, "I'm coming home. I've just got to have some time to think." He remained in Emporia in UA status until November 16, 1970. He told his family about the discrimination he and others experienced, explaining his growing hatred. After a month, his family persuaded him to return to Imperial Beach. Before doing so, Essex made sure to speak with Lieutenant Hatcher, explaining his reasons for desertion. According to Hatcher's official notes, Essex said, "I don't want to have anything more to do with the Navy. It wouldn't be fair, not to you or the dental patients. The bad atmosphere would affect my work. The work is the only thing on this base I like." Essex then agreed to plead guilty to the charge of desertion. Hatcher defended Essex at the court-martial, praising his work ethic and stating that ongoing racial discrimination was the sole reason for his desertion. The judge was sympathetic and sentenced Essex to 30 days restriction to base and forfeiture of $90 of his pay, which is about $720 in today's money, for 2 months. On February 11, 1971, Essex was given a general discharge for unsuitability, which angered him as he felt unfairly stigmatized and the racial problems were never addressed. Essex then dove deeper into Black Panther ideology and called himself Mata and embraced the extremist ideas found in the 1968 book Black Rage. He returned home in April 1971 and bought a Ruger 44 caliber semi-automatic carbine through the mail order of a Montgomery Ward outlet in Emporia. He began incessantly practicing his marksmanship in the countryside, and in August, without informing his parents, he left for Louisiana, possibly to reconnect with his friend, Rodney Frank. Essex moved homes 4 times between 1971 and 1972 before settling in a 2-room apartment at 2619 Dryades Street in Central City in early November 1972, where he observed the poverty in the city's housing projects. On August 22, 1972, he applied to the federally funded Total Community Action, or TCA program, and was accepted. Essex enrolled in a course in vending machine repair and was at the top of his class. He also took an African studies course, memorizing African terms and dialects in his apartment. Many of these words, along with hate slogans in English, Swahili, and Zulu, would later be found written on the walls and ceilings of his apartment. He then bought a Colt .38 caliber revolver, and living a solitary life while battling severe depression, something happened to turn Essex even harder into hatred. In September 1972, the New Orleans Police Department created the Felony Action Squad to reduce violent crime, and Superintendent Clarence Giruso stated that squad members were authorized to shoot to kill if threatened. In October, Essex visited his family in Emporia and seemed to be upbeat and enthusiastic, which led his parents to believe he had recovered from his bitter experiences in the Navy. On November 16th, Essex learned that 2 black Southern University students had been shot and killed by East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's deputies during a campus demonstration. Essex became quite upset and decided to take action against what he saw as police oppression. Essex then wrote a letter to his mother stating, "Africa, this is it, Mom. It's even bigger than you and I, even bigger than God. I have now decided that the white man is my enemy. I will fight to gain my manhood or die trying. Love, Jimmy," using his nickname as a child. On December 27, 1972, he dined with a fellow student's family and later phoned his own family, making a point to speak with each member individually. He conveyed no sense of distress during the call. Essex then gave away most of his personal possessions to friends, telling acquaintances and neighbors that he intended to return to Emporia, though this was not his true plan. Essex then wrote a letter to WWL-TV, signing it Mata. In the letter, he announced his intention to attack the New Orleans Police Department on December 31st. He cited vengeance for the deaths of the 2 innocent brothers killed during the Southern University Civil Rights demonstration as his primary justification. Around 10:55 p.m. on New Year's Eve 1972, Essex parked his car and walked along Perdido Street, 1 block away from the New Orleans Police Department headquarters, armed with the Ruger .44 caliber carbine, his .38 caliber revolver, a large supply of ammunition, a gas mask, wire cutters, lighter fluid, matches, firecrackers, all carried in a green duffel bag. He hid behind parked cars in the dimly lit parking lot across from the Central Police Jail and then fired at 19-year-old Cadet Bruce Weatherford as he was reporting for duty. Weatherford instinctively dove for cover behind a parked car, and Cadet Alfred Harrell, also 19 and black, ran across the Sally Port to assist him. Harrell was fatally shot once in the chest, and the same bullet passed through him and struck Lieutenant Horace Perez in the ankle after it ricocheted off a wall. Essex fled the scene, but he was not finished. He continued his rampage on January 7, 1973, and was then called the New Orleans Sniper. He shot more people, and the police arrived, creating a standoff with Essex, who positioned himself on the building's rooftop. The sheer scale of the response, including the use of a military helicopter, underscored the severity of the situation and the threat Essex posed as the casualties mounted. However, despite efforts to negotiate his surrender by the police, Essex, who had barricaded himself on the rooftop of the hotel, made a final desperate charge which ended in his death under a hail of bullets. When it was all over, Essex had killed 9 people, including 5 police officers, and wounded 12 others, including 5 more police officers in both shooting sprees. His dead victims were Police Cadet Alfred Harrell, gunshot wound to the chest; Officer Edwin Hosley Sr., also a gunshot wound to the chest and stomach; Dr. Robert Stiegel, a hotel guest, with a gunshot wound to the chest; his wife Elizabeth Stiegel, hotel guest, gunshot wound to the head; Frank Schneider, the hotel assistant manager, gunshot wound to the head; Walter Sherwood Collins, the hotel general manager, gunshot wounds to back and stomach; Officer Philip Coleman, with a gunshot wound to the head; Officer Paul Arlen Persigo, with a gunshot wound to the face; Deputy Police Superintendent Louis Sirgo, gunshot wound to the chest and back. Those wounded were Lieutenant Horace Perez with a ricochet wound to the ankle, Joseph Pernicaro, grocer, gunshot wound to the upper right shoulder, New Orleans fireman Joseph Anderson with a gunshot wound to the arm, Patrolman Charles Arnold, shot in the face, Officer Lawrence Arthur, gunshot wound to the side, Robert Beamish, a hotel guest, shot in the abdomen, Patrolman Michael Burrell, smoke inhalation, hand and back injuries sustained in the fall, New Orleans fireman Thomas Calamari, gunshot wound to the arm, Christopher Heaton, ambulance driver, shot in the back, Patrolman Robert Childress, smoke inhalation, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Deputy Michael Munch, with gunshot wounds to leg and neck, Sergeant Emmanuel Palmisano, gunshot wounds to arm and back, Officer Kenneth Solis, gunshot wound to shoulder and back, New Orleans fireman Timothy Urson, gunshot wound to shoulder and chest. Essex had planned both events, but his victims were apparently random, and the map of New Orleans marked with the locations of police headquarters and the Howard Johnson's Hotel indicated the deliberate nature of his actions, as he had clearly targeted these sites with a specific purpose in mind, although he did not have specific targets. The police searched his apartment, where they found the slogans written on the walls in English and Bantu, which reflected Essex's embrace of a broader revolutionary identity that transcended national boundaries. The inscription, "My destiny lies in the bloody death of racist pigs," underscored his belief that violence was the only means to achieve his goals, while the reference to the Third World and "Kill Pig Nixon" and his running dogs tied his personal mission to a global struggle against perceived imperialist forces. One of those killed, Deputy Police Superintendent Louis Sirgo, who had long advocated for addressing the root causes of social discontent within the black community, was a very unfortunate casualty. Sirgo's widow established the Louis Sirgo Memorial Award, honoring promising recruits in the NOPD, keeping his legacy alive and honoring his work in trying to mend race relations. Essex was profiled in a 1982 documentary, The Killing of America, which highlighted Mark Essex's rampage. Mark Essex was not the first mass shooter and not the last, but he is a demonstrable facet of the fabric of what happens when delusional theory and personal animosity manifest into a rage impulse. Thank you for watching this episode of Forgotten History. If you liked what you saw, please click like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like to assist with the ever-increasing cost of production, please consider becoming a channel member and joining our Patreon page. Please check out our merchandise store. And thanks for watching.